We are with James Stanley today, back getting ready to talk about South Carolina. As I promised, we are back on the air, maybe a little bit later. I promised we'd be back up at 9, but just the way it is. We are back with James Stanley. Thank you so much for joining us, James. Hope you had a nice dinner and are ready to talk about South Carolina. What do you think of the results? Were there any surprises to you here? And by the way, before you get into that, I just want to quickly give a little bit of a refresh on the results here. Biden with 50% of the vote. Sanders now with almost 20 at 19.1%, and Steyer with 11.4%. By the way, just so you know, Steyer just finished dropping out of the race, so he would no longer be a contender in the primary so far. So that's just a quick refresh before James gives his take.
Yeah, I think that tonight in South Carolina, I think that it was pretty good for Biden, actually. I think that I was a little bit shocked with how good he did, depending as well, looking over at how the race already started out with Sanders winning 3 states. But overall, I do think that this was a good night for Biden. Tom Steyer did drop out over concerns that, he put a lot of money into South Carolina to try to get the black vote for him, and he did not really too well in that state. So that was really the reason that drove him to dropping out, which I don't really blame him too much. And he didn't really have a shot in the first place, so we got one less person in the race now to worry about. But I think that tonight really was a good night for Biden. I think it shows that he still is in this race, and this still is a race to be fought for. I think that people are getting a little bit ahead of the horses with saying that this is going to be it. Sanders is going to have a walk in the park win. But I think we're looking more at a possibility of a gridlocked nomination now.
A broker convention, you mean?
Yeah. A gridlocked convention, which I think that's probably going to most likely occur because it seems like that Sanders still is not doing horrible in many states that are Super Tuesday and onward. Same thing with Biden. I mean, Biden's up in a good amount of states still for Super Tuesday and also onward. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a gridlocked race between who's going to have the most delegates and who's going to have the most votes. I can't, predict that per se. But I think that the real state that is going to give Sanders a big advantage over the advantage he already has if Sanders can get a lot of progressives out is in the state of California. I mean, California gives away a lot of delegates.
He's almost positioned to do as well there as he did in Nevada. And if he is able to do that, because some polls have him doing that, that would be absolutely huge for his campaign. And if he can pull off a win in Texas, maybe even win in Massachusetts, I think even and unseat Elizabeth Warren, that is going to be huge stuff for his campaign.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that even when we look at how he's done in states that have a high young people vote turnout, which is Nevada did have a pretty high voter turnout for young people, also a high voter turnout for minorities. Same thing with South Carolina, or per se for the African American vote in South Carolina, then comparing it to Nevada, where Nevada had more Hispanics coming out to vote. But Sanders did actually quite well with the non-Hispanic voters. I mean, that really wasn't what drove him to win the thing, which people keep on saying it did. It really didn't, though. I mean, what drove Sanders to winning the nomination was it seems as if the working class people in many of the casinos in Las Vegas kind of drove him down in the southern part of Nevada. But I think that what is really going to help him if he wins in California is, well, look, we have a lot of young people in California. I mean, California's always been a state full of young people. I can't remember in 2016 if Bernie had won in 2016. I don't remember. I haven't looked at the results for California
I don't think he did.
In a while because I never really think about. He didn't. Okay, but do we know by how much he didn't?
I think I don't know, but I think Hillary Clinton actually won by a lot. I think that's what put her on a track because California was later, much later, because he did not do as well like with Latinos the last time around as he is doing this time. So him and his campaign to put a lot of effort into that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely could see Bernie doing quite well there, but then also I think that looking onward, I think we're going to have to consider and see. A race without a couple of contenders, including, Klobuchar's probably going to drop out soon. So is Warren
and Buttigieg.
I think,
would you say?
Buttigieg is going to drop out soon, but I think the problem with him, I think he's too arrogant to drop out.
So you think he thinks he could still possibly represent the Sanders or the anti-Sanders wing?
I think that he's going to try to make the case for it. I think that he's going to try to make the case. Right now, he's focusing on getting an anti-Sanders vibe. But I think once Biden starts to pick up his steam after Super Tuesday, which, Super Tuesday is a contest where Biden's not going to, I don't know necessarily if he's going to win it, but he's going to win a lot of states that are up on the ballot. And I think that once that occurs, or if that occurs, excuse me, then Buttigieg will focus a little bit more on he's saying, look, this guy's old. He's really not competent. Look at me. I'm young. I'm good. This and that. I'm a Harvard grad, trying to show off all his muscles. Mm-hmm. I think that's sort of what's going to happen because I think Buttigieg is a little bit, I hate to say it, but I think he's a little bit dumb when it comes to the fact that he thinks he's going to actually win and move the needle for this race. He has subpar minority support. It's down to the ground.
It's like 2%. So
it's very low for him, and I think that it's such a far-fetched campaign to be running in the first place. Anyway, you'd predict, this guy who's advocating for rather tilt liberal policies to actually want to represent the people. The fact that he's done there's only one thing of the wine cave, but I would not be shocked whatsoever if he is doing fundraisers all over the place with wealthy people.
Oh yeah, he has been. He has been. He's been
in
Florida. He's been in, I think, Virginia recently as well. But when it comes to that minority support, you need the minority support to win, and probably the two people that have it right now are Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. I personally think that he can, but do you think that Bernie Sanders could possibly take away some more black support from Joe Biden, even with this?
I don't think so.
Positive result, because if you look at the national polls, he has been doing pretty well. In some national polls, we'll have him ahead of Joe Biden in the black vote.
I don't think that Bernie will be able to take much more away from Biden. Tonight's performance is a perfect scorecard of who has the most black support.
I don't think you can really say that for South Carolina is just South Carolina. It's not the whole. It's not representative of the.
Well, it's
not
the whole country. Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's a very big scorecard for black support. It's been like that for many years. We look at exactly what happened to Obama in 2008. The reason why he won the state with big margins. Well, first off, he had a good campaign. He also was black himself, and he really connected to the community better than someone like Hillary Clinton, who was a corporate lawyer.
And I think they knew he was viable in Iowa too. I think that really helps because he was proven to be once he won Iowa, they were like, okay, we got to support our guy here.
Yeah, I think that what's going to happen in the race with the black support, I think the black support is probably going to stick with Biden for a good amount of time. It really depends on where the race goes. Do I think that they would support Sanders in general? I don't see any reason to doubt it, besides the fact that it seems like African-American voters, unlike the Hispanic voters in this country, they typically like to vote establishment. So I can't assure everyone that Bernie is going to get 100% of the black support, who vote Democrat. Understanding the black supporters who voted for either, whatever Democrat in the field, that they're all going to flock on over to Bernie. I might be wrong here, but I can't tell if they're going to do it or if they're not going to do it. Because the fact of the matter is, it seems like that these ad campaigns didn't really push the needle, which is good to know, in the sense of Tom Steyer and Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Which is good to know. It is good to know. Yeah, it's definitely good to see. I don't think Bloomberg was even on the ballot here, but he supposedly was exploiting the airwaves in South Carolina for some God knows reason.
We'll see the real effect of the Bloomberg ads and the real money being put in on Tuesday.
Super Tuesday, yeah. That's going to be the real performance card for Bloomberg, but I don't think he's going to do that well.
Yeah, I think he's only really projecting in Arkansas and Oklahoma are the only things he's up in?
Yeah, he's not. No. Arkansas and Oklahoma, he's doing pretty good. And I don't think he's first. I thought that I remember Oklahoma Biden was in first, and Arkansas Biden also took the lead. But it was still Bloomberg was doing better than what most people had predicted he was going to be doing.
So
I don't think he could win those states.
Here's what I think could be happening right now. So this is my read on what's happening. I think, especially in South Carolina, you have older black support. right? Like you have older black support on average on by the margins. It's like it tends to be older among the generations. It's more people who are less trustworthy of Bernie Sanders, less trustworthy of socialism, and older people generally we know don't like Bernie Sanders. But I think especially nationally with his now front runner status has really helped him, um, and that addition of more support and kind of being seen as legitimate has helped him and will help him possibly get more black support than Joe Biden. I think because I think he is in a much better position to get more black support than say Joe Biden is to get more Latino support. If you get what I'm saying, do you think that's crazy?
To be honest, though, I would say a little bit, yeah, because I think the problem is Biden is actually doing well in Texas. He's doing well in Arizona. He's doing well in New Mexico. Nevada was only one state that had a good amount of Hispanic support. But, the fact of the matter is it's not an overwhelming, support when you compare it to, say, like Texas or when you compare it to a state like, especially like Arizona. I mean, people always make Nevada seem like it's such a big Hispanic state. Well, yes, it does have
It's the
very
biggest.
big.
I'm pretty sure it's the biggest Hispanic state in the country, actually.
Well, by population, yes, because
In
Nevada
terms of
has
like
I think
percentage of the vote.
three. Oh, okay. Well, last time I was checking that Texas had more of a bigger Hispanic population, not percentage-wise based off the entire state population, but in the sense of people, because percent-wise based off the state population, Nevada is a smaller state than Texas by, long shots. I think Nevada only has a couple million people living there. I mean, it's not that populous of a state like Texas, for example. But what I'm trying to get here is that I think that Biden could get a little bit more Latino support if he actually focuses more in that community like he did in the black community, which I don't really see why he wouldn't. I mean, he really did run hard in the state like South Carolina. I mean, he hasn't campaigned a lot in Super Tuesday states. He's really been just staying in the states that have a primary coming up, which, look, that campaign style seems to not really be working so well in some states. It seems to be working well. For example, in South Carolina, it worked pretty well for him. He also got the support of Jim Clyburn, which is quite critical for him, I believe, in this race, because Clyburn is one of the most popular House representatives in the state of South Carolina. He's also, for many people in that community, the African American community in South Carolina, they look at him as a man who, they keep him to his word, which is, I think, part of the reason why Biden did pretty well tonight. But then I think,
I really think it's kind of a disappointment because, I really think, I think it's strange because you have Bernie, like he could make a very good case that Biden is not going to be a good nominee with his results in the crime bill and like the view he's had.
I don't think Sanders could be either, though. I think that both of them are not really strong in their own parts. I mean, I'm not saying Biden's 100%. I'm not saying Bernie's 100% either.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make a better case and try and make that directly appeal to black voters and go to Joe Biden and be like, is this your king? Is this who you choose to represent us in the new election? Maybe younger black voters could go to their parents and be like, come on, like, we can do better than this. All right, looking at the polls here, Sanders, according to the aggregate of polls, is up in nationally. He's up in California by 18.3 points average. He's up in Texas by 8 points average. Those RCP poll averages. North Carolina, Biden is up by 3. Sanders up by 5 in Virginia, which is very surprising. Massachusetts, Sanders also up by 4, which could be huge. Colorado, Sanders winning in Utah as well. So that seems to be very encouraging for just in general for Sanders supporters. And I think he really does have a good chance to do well on Super Tuesday. I think Bernie, and really come out looking good. And it's going to be he could put this nomination, let's just say, in the bag by Super Tuesday.
Yeah, I think he definitely could do pretty well. I think that in many of these states, first of all, I think in many of these states, what we're going to have to see is, first of all, I think we're going to have to see who exactly is coming up in second in many of these states where Bernie is doing good. And I think that could be a good call for, seeing who has the most support in certain states. Like a lot of these states are majority white states.